8 minutes. That's all it took after the judge stamped our divorce for my ex-husband, Ethan Hale, to slide into a black sedan with his mother, Vivian Hale, like they'd been released from a cage. I stood on the courthouse steps with the decree still warm in my hand, the ink faintly sharp, while my chest felt strangely quiet, like I'd already cried every tear in the last 5 years. A horn blared. Vivian didn't even look at me. She hooked her arm through Ethan's and said, loud enough for strangers to hear, "Good, now we can finally do this right." Then she called someone on speaker, Brielle, and cooed about a $1.5 million Park Avenue condo. Paid in full. Ethan laughed like he'd won. I didn't shout. I just watched them drive away, and I made one calm call that would change the ending. Vivian arrived as if summoned by the moment, heels snapping against stone, silk immaculate, voice sharpened for an audience. She didn't acknowledge me. She announced me. "Dead weight," she said, smiling as if the phrase were a diagnosis. "A woman who can't give a family what it needs shouldn't stand in the way." Passers-by slowed. Phones lifted. Ethan stood beside her, shoulders caved, eyes fixed on the ground, murmuring nothing that sounded like defense. Vivian spoke of image, airs, appearances, of what a wife should display and produce, reducing years of partnership to a checklist I'd failed. Each sentence turned private wounds outward, polishing them for judgment. Ethan's silence did the rest. In that triangle she wrote the story. He let it stand, and I was expected to step aside without noise, without dignity, without a name. What Vivian called barren hid a truth I carried alone. Years earlier, when I told Ethan I was pregnant, his voice went cold, practical, urgent. He said a baby would ruin everything, our timing, our finances, his fragile peace with his mother. I believed him. I chose what he framed as responsibility and swallowed the grief that followed. Afterward, he let the words stick to me, let his mother weaponize it in public, as if my body were a verdict. Standing there now, I understood why my hands were steady. This wasn't rage, it was clarity earned the hard way. If this part resonates, drop a 6 in the comments. Today's response wasn't sudden or reckless. It was the end of years of quiet compliance, and the beginning of choosing myself at last, without apology, ever. The condo they bragged about wasn't just a price tag to me. That $1.5 million was built from my contracts signed after midnight, my guarantees on risky loans, my weekends lost to audits and payroll. While Vivian sneered and called me a glorified accountant, I remembered the rented office, the first client, the nights I balanced cash so Ethan could sleep. I designed the systems, steadied the vendors, and protected our name when margins thinned. Their confidence came from a structure I engineered, yet they laughed, convinced competence meant compliance, mistaking patience for powerlessness. They believed money moved without my consent, that ownership was a costume Ethan wore alone. Standing there, I finally saw the lie clearly. Financial theft is emotional theft, and leverage doesn't announce itself. It waits, documented, ready for the moment to strike. I stepped away and called Ava, my voice level, instructions spare. "Contact Vincent. Lock everything down. No speeches, no threats, just files, holds, and timestamps. Procedure, not theater." Then I headed uptown to the Park Avenue sales office, sunglasses on, breathing slow. I chose a quiet corner with a clean sight line to the closing desk and ordered coffee I didn't need. I waited while smiles grew louder and promises expanded, while confidence swelled to carelessness. I watched hands gesture, contracts slide, cards come out like trophies. Restraint was the point. When arrogance peaks, facts land hardest. I stayed still, letting the room do the work, trusting paper trails, signatures, and rules that don't bend for charm. What followed wouldn't be a scene, it would be a correction, precise and unavoidable. By design, executed quietly, on time. At the height of their celebration, the first card chirped and failed, then another. Laughter thinned into whispers as the salesman's smile stiffened, eyes darting to the screen. Ethan tried again, faster, like speed could bully the system. Vivian snapped for another terminal. Brielle's glow dimmed. The room, all marble and light, leaned in. Finally, the manager arrived, voice careful, confirming a court-ordered asset freeze connected to joint accounts. The words landed heavy and final. Confidence curdled into panic. This was the same room meant to bless a future. It now exposed a past. I didn't raise my voice. I stepped forward and stated what the records already said. Shared ownership. Unauthorized transfers. A hold applied by rule. Silence followed, clean and irreversible. No applause came, only understanding that consequences had arrived publicly at last. "I wasn't here to make a scene," I said evenly. "I'm here to take back what's mine." The company sits in both names. The accounts are joint. Transfers were made without consent, and the bank is following protocol. Vivian scoffed, calling it a lie, but facts don't argue. I named the filings I submitted, the contracts I closed, the loans I personally guaranteed when cash ran thin. Brielle's composure cracked, tears streaked her makeup. Ethan pleaded for a private talk, for time, for mercy. Vivian shouted, I didn't flinch. Emotion was the trap, and I stepped around it. This wasn't vengeance dressed up as virtue. It was protection, plain and lawful. Boundaries drawn in ink are not cruelty. They're the difference between being erased and standing whole in your own life. At last, today here. After the showroom emptied, the phone began to ring. Ethan asked for flexibility, for time, for quiet favors. I reminded him, calmly, that he'd never asked what I could handle. At the bank, statements rolled across the screen. Dates, amounts, signatures, irregular transfers, unilateral moves, restitution followed by schedule, not sympathy. Vivian's bravado thinned to fear. Apologies arrived late and uneven. Relatives called proposing plans and promises. I listened, then repeated the same answer. Within the framework, or not at all. No shortcuts, no exceptions. Evidence does the talking, not volume. The process advanced because records existed and rules applied evenly. I didn't gloat, and I didn't bargain away protections. Accountability isn't theatrics. It's paperwork completed, meetings attended, and outcomes enforced. When the calls stopped, the quiet felt earned, steady and final. By design, law held. Firmly, publicly. I stepped away and called Ava, my voice level, instructions spare. Contact Vincent. Lock everything down. No speeches, no threats. Just files, holds, and timestamps. Procedure, not theater. Then I headed uptown to the Park Avenue sales office, sunglasses on, breathing slow. I chose a quiet corner with a clean sightline to the closing desk and ordered coffee I didn't need. I waited while smiles grew louder and promises expanded, while confidence swelled to carelessness. I watched hands gesture, contracts slide, cards come out like trophies. Restraint was the point. When arrogance peaks, facts land hardest. I stayed still, letting the room do the work, trusting paper trails, signatures, and rules that don't bend for charm. What followed wouldn't be a scene. It would be a correction, precise and unavoidable, by design, executed quietly, on time.